Hi everyone, Mary at Espresso Press Design. Thank you for joining me today. When this video airs, it will be December 14th. But I'm filming a little early. But I thank you so much for your time. And today we're just going to do something quick and simple for Christmas. This will be the first time I have gotten out anything Christmassy. Well, no, I did do a card. So, what you're going to need are some scraps. You're going to need some glitter or diamond dust, which is what I have here. And you're going to need some type of adhesive. And I'm using my Super Gloss Mod Podge just because I'm using this diamond dust and it's real glass and I want to make sure it adheres, which I love this, by the way. It truly looks like snow, and for ornaments and things like that it glitters like nothing else. You can also crush your own glass from old ornaments if you want, but I just went through my little scrap box of and chose my cardstock weight papers, and I just chose one color, which as you can see is mostly blues here. And I'm not even going to bother with I could probably get some little tags out of this too, which will be cute. So I'm not even going to bother with the tag punch. I just have my corner punches and my decorator, 3-corner decorator punch. So I got a tag like this. Let me bring this up here to show you. And hopefully you can see the corners of that. And it is all glittery and sparkly just at the bottom. So you will need that. So I am using my diamond dust, and I just grabbed 2 colors of the extra fine glitter, and you'll need a container, and I just mix them in a container. And this is so simple. So I'm going to do that and have a little chat about what I discovered about the tech overlords and AI. I've been doing some research. I know if you're not a content creator, this isn't going to be affecting you, but many people who watch are. So I think, and this is any kind of content, digitals, books, videos, music, any type of creator, if you are in that category, sooner or later this is probably going to affect you. Okay, so let's just get started here, and I will show you how to do one, and I'll just do it on here. So I'm just going to get my tag created first, and you'll also need a couple of hole punches. I have 2 different types here. I think one is an 1/8 and one is standard. And then you're just going to take your adhesive of choice. You'll also need, it's going to help if you have something here to catch all your glitter. I have a piece of wax paper here. And you're just going to take your finger and glue the end in a random shape. You can do this with Christmas cards, greeting cards, any type of paper that's thick enough to make a tag. You can give a set as gifts. And there you have it, your little snow-dipped tag. Okay. I'll get started with another one here, and I have all random sizes and shapes that I've already cut up. Let me do another clear one here. And then, I don't know, I might put a reinforcer on the top there. And I would like to do some tiny tags just to add. And this doesn't have to be just for Christmas. It's also glam. If you like glam, Victorian. Sit down and do this to some of your Victorian paper. Looks quite lovely. It doesn't have to be, can also be rustic. Anything that you want a touch of winter or a touch of snow. So I'm just dipping that in there. Very simple. Okay, so let me start at the beginning, and this is just my thoughts and my experience and what I've researched, and just knowing the trajectory of the business for the past almost 30 years and having to pay the price, which, trust me, in the end it always ends up being less for you and more for them. I'm talking about the overlords. And one little example here is the tools that I have used now for 30 years, like Photoshop. You know, I remember when you had to buy Photoshop, and in the beginning it cost probably $2,000. And then eventually it became subscription. And then eventually they were going to try to make it illegal for you if you were even using your $2,000 fully owned by you. You bought the license, you bought everything, and then they wanted to make it illegal for you to use your own purchased product. So that's the mindset you're looking at. So just keep that in mind. What you feel about it is what you feel about it. Might be different than what I feel about it. So, okay, let me go back to the beginning regarding Etsy. I began Etsy in late 2019. There were 2.2 million sellers. Then it went to 4.3 million sellers. By 2023, it was 5.4 million sellers. And then after that, which I'm guessing is 2024, there were 6.7 million sellers. And today, they're, for some unknown reason, I don't know, they are back down to around 5 million sellers. Okay, so that's just my experience, and I had to, you know, there's only so much space on Etsy, and there's only so many seconds in a day. So that did affect your views, whether you think so or not. If they're trying to manage 6.7 million new sellers, the majority of them probably using AI at this point. So those are the stats, okay? So that was my experience. And when I began, and I would also like to say, I had no idea how much AI was on Etsy until I thought, okay, now that I'm making a little money, I'm going to stay within Etsy, and I'm going to buy some illustrations and help young illustrators, or so I thought. And it didn't take me long to discover that all the illustrations I bought were AI, when my real intention was to help an illustrator, because my neighbor is an illustrator, a pretty famous illustrator, who pretty much, you know, watched his career evaporate too. So that was my plan. So that's how I basically discovered how much AI was on Etsy, and then it was like, okay, well, I'm competing now with all of this. How am I going to do that? And still put in the amount of work I was putting in. And I will say part of my decision at that point was, if I just purchased resources on Etsy, that would save me a lot of time. And, you know, I might have a lot more to choose from, and resourcing material is actually pretty time consuming. So okay, that was I thought what was going to be a win-win. So then let's forward to 2023. And here's what I decided to go and look at Amazon, which is the largest content distributor in the world. And see, you know, I know the last time I checked, Amazon did not permit AI. Not images, not text, nothing. So I wanted to see for myself what, if anything, had changed. So it did. Okay, in 2023, Amazon changed their policy permitting use of AI. And I'm going to jump back and forth here between Etsy, YouTube, and Amazon, because being a content creator on all three, I'm affected on all three. They did permit, but they also quickly partnered with AI to create their own AI content. So keep that in mind. Okay, there's another one. Use of AI must be disclosed whether as a tool or entirely created by AI. The Society of Authors sought guarantees from Amazon that it will respect their recommended contractual wording on AI, and the goal of the Society of Authors was for readers to be able to filter out AI-generated content in their search results. It appears Amazon took it a step further, from reader choice to Amazon directed. So, of course, Amazon is not disclosing their internal operations, but based on the trends post these self-policing by corporate America, they pretty much said sorry, because as I said, they quickly either bought up AI or partnered with some AI to make their own AI content. So of course, they're not going to let you filter out AI content if they're hoping to make money off of it themselves. So, this is what I found out on Author Guideline Chatter on the internet of what I'm guessing educated, like in the business chatter. The content, quote unquote content, and remember here we're talking about images or text, might be tagged as used AI, dumped in the dungeon with no search engine entry or sample, or simply unpublished. So, okay, let's move back to Etsy. Etsy recently introduced 3 changes. Those changes were disclose AI, shorten the titles of feature suggestion, and a new algorithm favoring engagement and or sales numbers, that is large volume shops. Okay. And since I am experienced enough to know a hockey stick when I see one of those severely affected my shop. So, okay, let's move on to YouTube. YouTube recently released a statement, and YouTube also is going to be making a ton of money from AI. YouTube will proceed with expanded, this is from the CEO, Neil Mohan. YouTube will proceed with expanded AI moderation tools despite backlash. Now, who the backlash was coming from, what AI creators or people who don't like AI, I'm guessing the same thing is going to be happening. YouTube wants to profit off of AI, and like Etsy and Amazon, they want to be able to use AI to police AI. This was his statement. He added that AI will enable a class of creators who previously lacked skills or equipment. Make of that what you will. I don't know if you think YouTube really cares about the quality of content creation? Probably not. All they care about is keep capturing people's attention and making money off of ad revenue while taking 50% of the creator's content earnings. So let me go back to Amazon, and I went and checked Amazon's guidelines, their policy, their public policy. We distinguish between AI generated and AI assisted. AI generated, we define AI generated content as text, images, or translations created by an AI based tool. To create the actual content, it is considered AI generated even if you applied substantial edits afterwards. So this would be also affecting Etsy. Even if you applied substantial edits, it's going to be considered AI generated. And you have to disclose that. AI assisted, you do not have to disclose. So here is the bottom line for me, the final paragraph in this policy. You are responsible for verifying that all AI generated and or AI assisted content adheres to all content guidelines, including by complying with all applicable intellectual property rights. So let's go back to the beginning. If they want to use AI themselves and they want to profit off of AI, of course they have to own AI. And that's why they rushed to create another monopoly by buying up all AI. And since we know how they are and they don't want to accept any liability themselves, they will be the owners of all. And since they consider AI the brain, that makes you the tool, and you are going to be responsible, and you are going to accept all liability. And they are going to be the owners, and I guarantee at some point somebody is going to be collecting royalties for the AI generator machines. Because as I said, they just flipped the entire paradigm. Whereas they are the brain, you just did the prompt, so that makes you the tool. Since they are the brain and they own this new AI generated content, they have a right to collect royalties because they consider that if AI is the brain, that is the intellectual property of the brain. You got that? So let's go back to Etsy. So Etsy, you have to disclose AI. They gave the shortened titles a feature suggestion, which was a disaster, by the way. Don't do it. Maybe you might get punished if you don't do it. I don't know. And the new algorithm. And then let's go back to Amazon. And let's go back to YouTube. Viewers wanted to be able to select for themselves whether they were watching AI or whether they were watching a content created by a real person. And it appears all three of these corporate giants decided that no, they don't want to give viewers, purchasers, shoppers, consumers that ability to choose, and that's where it stands today. And that quote that I shared from YouTube, that's very recent, like I'm guessing the past week or so. So that's where the cookie has crumbled and Humpty Dumpty has fallen off the wall. What you do with that information is up to you. But as I said, I've watched this business now for 30 years. I have seen even what they are doing on Adobe. They are taking people's work and putting it in templates and selling those templates. And just things like that. I mean, you know, things that would be illegal for you to do, they do with no consequence. Put it that way. So, the only thing that will protect creators in the end is going to be a strike. A general labor strike by a very huge creator union, because that's the only thing that has ever worked against industry, except for industry being its own enemy. And since I have been dancing with the ghosts in the machine now for 30 years, one thing, the other thing you can be sure of is that all industry, like Victor Frankenstein, eventually flees in horror and destructs the monsters that it builds. Whether I'll live long enough to see that, I don't know, but that's what will eventually happen, I'm sure. So again, you can decide that for yourself, and I'm sure it's going to be coming to Canva, and I'm sure it's going to be coming to whatever safeguard you think you've cornered in the market to be able to create without paying anyone anything, or having it being skimmed off the top of your work, which is basically what it amounts to. They never really create anything themselves. They just extract it from your labor and then claim it's theirs. That's how they operate. And that's how they have operated since, oh, I don't know, the 1300s Florence, what, 1500s Barbados. That's how they've operated. And you know, eventually, whatever was being produced, whether it was sugar or cotton, the slaves insisted they weren't stealing, and the slave owners insisted they were. Well, the slave owners were wrong. It was the slave owners that were stealing the labor, the value of the labor. And since we're all on the quote unquote plantation today. I hope nobody finds that offensive. If you're in a capitalist society, you are a bonded human bondage. And that's just the truth of it. I think everyone is, doesn't matter what side you're on, that's the only law, whether you're an economist, whatever. That's what capitalism is, human bondage. So, you decide what you're going to do. I'm going to have to decide what I'm going to do. But just remember, looking at the largest content distributor in the world, and that would be Amazon, since they're going to be creating their own AI content, promoting their own AI content, just like YouTube. That AI created content is not going to be controlled by you in any way, shape, or form. And it's not going to be promoted by you in any way, shape, or form. How they're going to do that, I don't know. The royalty deal. Maybe there's some type of meta tag in the AI. I don't know. I would have to ask my husband. He's the tech wizard in the house, but he's a developer, by the way. I would have to ask him if he knows about it, but I'm guessing that's what it's just like, kind of like a barcode. They're going to be, or dynamic pricing. I don't know if you've learned about that yet. The dynamic pricing is going to determine how much you pay based on how much they know you make. So you might have two people in a shop, and they're both looking at the same item, and one is going to pay more because they know he can afford to pay more. I don't know if you've seen that, but that's the way it works. And that's the way it's going to work. They're doing away with price tags. Your guarantee. The one thing where you could hold a retailer responsible for living up to a contractual agreement is going to be no more. So you should look into that. Dynamic pricing. I'm 100% sure as a consumer you are not going to like it. So, okay, let me do one of these dark ones here, and then I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to put all these in a little box after they dry, and maybe I'm going to put some colorful reinforcers on there. I'm not sure. Let me just make a simple tag here. Standard tag. But yeah, Merry Christmas, us and them. Merry Christmas. That's what it amounts to. What's his name? Scrooge and Tiny Tim. If you know that story. And you should know that story because 90% of this began in England. Okay, I'm almost empty here. I'm going to have to put a little bit more. And I've had this for eons. This diamond dust. And I think I need a little more blue. Just mix that together. So let me know if you've done your own research. I know I'm not attracting the culture, you know, the culture warriors. People who keep, oh, that's pretty. Look at that. That's pretty, just using a solid color that's a little bit darker. Love that. Okay, everyone. Sorry again. I don't know if I told you that I did have something else planned. But yesterday I spent 9.5 hours in the car driving through every type of snow imaginable. Snow, ice, snow fog, blizzard. Saw 3 wrecks, one of them a school bus. I was never so glad to get home in my life. That's how treacherous it was. And it's much of the time we could only go 15 miles an hour. So I didn't have, I needed some stays on. I didn't have time to go to the store. Because when I got home, I just had such a headache. I was so relieved to be home. I did not want to go out again. So, and then I just thought, well, I need some little tags anyway, so let's do this. Okay? So, that's what I decided to do, but I will get back to something a little different once I get to the store. I'm going to do one more of this royal blue because it's pretty. So anyway, let me reiterate. I've been in marketing and branding as well for, I don't know, 20 years at least. I know how to determine things from statistics. Let me just put it that way. And I know a hockey stick when I see one, which is a sharp trend, either up or down, that you can be certain is orchestrated. Now it's up to you to find out how it's orchestrated, but you can be certain that that is not organic. That was due to some type of force, and it just doesn't happen. Now it could have been a good force. Maybe you had a closeout sale or something, or it could have been any kind of force, but you know it came from a force because it's not organic. It didn't come from just the normal flow of daily doing business. Okay, that just doesn't happen. And it's happened to me, and I knew it was some outside force, and it's the second time it's happened to me, so I just know. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for your time, and you have a great day and a great week, and I will see you next time. Sit down with your yourself, grab a hot beverage and make some little, I don't know what I'm going to call it, glitter ice dipped tags probably. And then I will put some little strings in some of these and take a nice photo, and that will be it. Thanks again, everyone. See you next time. Bye.